Life Audio.
Today on Talk About That, John preaches the day before the eclipse and does not reference it in his sermon. Meanwhile, I tell the story of a presidential candidate who lost an entire state because of the way he ate a tamale. Plus a conversation about the American obsession with end times prophecies and our human need to know things that cannot be fully understood. Today's episode is not sponsored by Ginger Ale. We know you only drink us on the plane, and we are fine with it. But first, a word from our actual sponsor.
Yo, it's Banter Town Crew bringing you some midweek relief. It's Talk About That with John and Johnny.
Hey, guys.
Yeah.
We're bringing relief to people.
We don't know what their weeks have been
Not like the kind of that helps people.
Nah,
remember Comic Relief? They would do the thing where they would help the homeless.
Yeah.
They would give a bunch of money.
Yeah.
We're not
Farm Aid, wasn't that one?
Farm Aid.
Yeah. Reminds me of The Office, the Crisis Aid.
Yeah.
Crime. No, it wasn't Crisis Aid, sorry.
Crime Aid. Crime Aid.
Crime.
I don't know.
It was really makes me.
We're trying
it was like it
to,
had a,
yeah.
Yeah.
We're trying to help people, but this is all we have, guys.
I remember his ID was I declare on aid.
You have to declare it.
My other favorite thing is whenever it was such a preacher thing, whenever he was doing the run for rabies.
Yeah.
And he was like, and of course everybody there is because Meredith possibly had rabies.
Yeah.
And so it's only like 20 people running the race or whatever. And he's like, rabies affects, no one knows how many people in America rabies affects because there's no Wikipedia page for that. But how many of you know someone's been affected by rabies? They all raise like 1, 2, too many to count. Oh, that's great.
Well, John, we just had the big celestial event.
Yes.
Here and it, I'm not going to lie to you, it wasn't so great here.
No, it was very cloudy.
So it's a bummer.
Yeah.
And bummer for me because I had a chance to be there for it and I decided to come home.
You blew it.
Well, I was on tour for 4 straight nights and we had put a ton of miles in. I went from, this is my tour schedule. I don't want to bore people, but just to give you an idea.
This is what they're here for.
I flew to Spokane on Thursday, Washington State. Drive to Lewiston, Idaho, do a show there. Drive back to Spokane at around midnight. We woke up around midnight to drive back to the airport for a 5 a.m. flight to Tulsa on Friday morning. Get to Tulsa on no sleep. Drive the rental car down to the hotel. They won't let us check in. We get lunch. Then we basically get to check into the hotel for 30 minutes. Then we have to go do a show in a town called Enid, Oklahoma. We have that rental car for all the rest of the time. So we drove that rental car from Enid back to Tulsa. We stay the night. The next day we wake up, we drive to Leslie, Arkansas, do a show in Leslie, Arkansas, another direct path city. So they were expecting a big resurgence of people, or insurgents, not resurgence. I guess it would be resurgence though, because just some kind of a surge.
Right.
And I did a show there at a theater there. They were so nice, great. And that's a ton of miles. Then the next day we drove that night to stay in a hotel in Missouri because there's no hotels in Leslie. So we had to drive out of the path to get a hotel at all. You know, some $300 hotel room because they're all jacking up the price. So we stay there. The next day we're in Vincennes, Indiana, which is in the path, but it's like another 4 hours. So we drove like, I think by the time it was all said and done, it was like 1,500 miles on this rental car. So by the time the show was over in Vincennes that night, which was around 8:30, I had a chance to be like, do we want to go home? And I looked it up and it said we were going to get a 92%, eclipse here. We're out of the path of total coverage. But I was like, you know what? 92 is still an A- where I come from, So I decided to drive home. And then when I woke up the next day and realized it's going to be cloudy as a mug here. And the other part was Vincennes was expected to be partly cloudy too. So you might get
But in the end, it was not, was it?
No, they had a really good view, evidently. Yeah.
And you were right there.
Yeah.
And you came here and we couldn't see.
I texted Melissa, who was my contact in Vincennes, and I was like, hey, thanks for everything last night. I said, you know what? I'm going to kick myself if you guys have really clear skies today. And then she goes, Do you want me to lie to you? That's what she texted me back. And then she sent me a photo from her backyard of the sun. It wasn't during the eclipse. It was just of the sun right then. And it was so clear. And I was like, And I said, well, 2042 is not that far off.
You can wait another 20 years.
I'll still be around.
Yeah, I'm sure.
My vision will be wrecked, I'm sure.
Yeah, I saw it for like literally maybe a second and a half.
Yeah.
Clouds kind of.
Oh, did they? I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know anybody around here got a good view.
I saw no bald eagles this time.
Oh.
I mean, wonder why we just had one so recent.
Yeah, I wonder why. Yeah.
And now.
Recent.
Now it's not for 20 more years. Well, why do we have these two so close together?
I'm not.
And I don't recall there being such the buzz around the last one.
Yeah.
Do you?
A lot of it seems like a lot of the eschatology people came out of the woodwork this time around. Maybe it's because we just have the political climate is so, the culture war is really ramping up. And so maybe that just makes people go, this is going to be signs and wonders and these celestial events that happen. We can literally set our watch by them. But this is the one that's going to be the rapture or whatever it is.
I don't understand why we need to study snails.
Yeah.
But eschatology seems important. But I want to talk about end times.
That's escargology.
Escargomatology. Yeah, I actually had some people text me. I don't know.
Isn't it odd to you that cosmetology is hair?
Oh, absolutely.
It sounds like you're doing hair in space. I'll just be honest with you. If you're not doing hair in space, if I get there and you don't have some weird futuristic outfit on,
right,
and some glasses that are all funky and triangular,
yeah,
you're not doing my hair because you're not a cosmetologist.
Yeah, cosmetologist sounds like a Russian person doing your hair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Come here, sit down, comrade, in this chair. Yeah.
You sit.
Yeah. I make drink for you.
I make borscht.
I'd like to apologize to all of our Russian listeners.
Why? They make borscht. Isn't that a beet soup?
I don't know.
I think borscht is beets.
Borscht. Is that German or Russian?
No, I think borscht is Russian. It's a very...
Wow. There's no way to know.
Look, to say it into your... What is borscht?
Here's what I found.
Okay. Oh, it's a Wikipedia thing. Borscht is a sour soup made with meat stock, vegetables, and seasonings common in Eastern Europe and Northern Asia. In English, the word borscht is most associated with the soup's variant of Ukrainian origin, made with red beetroots.
Look at you.
As one of the main ingredients. So, Ukrainian.
I think you already knew that. You were just waiting for borscht to come up.
I just like for borscht to...
I've been holding that one for a little while.
Okay, well, what were you saying about...
Yeah, I had somebody. I mean, people just freak out about it. And here's the thing. I think Andrew and I were talking about, I was like, hey, if this is the day that God wants to, do, this is a great day for it. But it's like, I'll put it this way. There was a cosmic sign when Jesus came the first time, which was
earthquake.
The star.
Oh, I thought you meant the earthquakes that happened on the day of his crucifixion.
No. I mean, when they followed.
Because that was the other thing, that there was an earthquake in New York or New Jersey area, which never happens on the East Coast there.
Right.
So they were taking that. People were piling that into the thing of like, we had an earthquake now.
Well, and biblically, the New York, New Jersey area is very central to the whole historical.
Yes.
Oh, wait, no, it's not.
As you know.
He came down off the Mount of Olives, and went straight into
Jersey.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's like, I'm one of those like, okay, hey, anything can, but I just believe.
Yeah.
I believe like.
It'd be too obvious, wouldn't it? I mean, it's like, come on. It's supposed to be like, he's going to catch us unaware. So.
Yeah. Yeah, right. That's the whole thing. Like, if it's supposed to be, of course, I'm using this expression from Scripture, but it has another connotation from our childhood, and that is thief in the night.
Yeah.
Which I read at the church the other day. I was teaching on this. Like, when you keep reading that verse, it says, or keep reading that passage, it says, but you don't live in darkness so that you should be surprised like a thief.
Yeah.
Like, actually, that whole thief in the night is not for Christians in theory, or really what God intends for people at all. Like, he intends us to live in the light, but it's not in the light of knowledge of what's going to happen eschatologically. I think it's a light. It's in the light of a gospel-driven or gospel-centered existence in which I believe you then entrust the things that he has said. I'm not going to tell you this. Hey, Jesus, when's all this stuff going to happen? I'm doing what the apostles did on the day of the ascension.
That was
he was
great.
like, hey, I'm not going to tell you that. So go into Jerusalem and then go into all the world. But like that's the answer, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, yes, it's a good hobby, but when it becomes
We want to unlock the secrets.
right.
Yeah.
Well, the unfortunate part of it is
It's kind of Gnosticism, right? We want to kind of know this secret language and knowledge, and then we want to like lord it over people that we know. We've unlocked, we figured out the code.
well, and it's misdirected knowledge in some ways because here's the thing: knowledge on this level, the energy it takes, like you can't, in my opinion. You can't live the life that's going to require the energy it takes just to show up as you're supposed to as a believer and be obsessed with something that's non-centric to say like the Apostles' Creed or whatever. Like the Apostles' Creed says, he is coming again to judge the living and the dead. I believe in the Holy Spirit, one holy or the Holy Catholic Church, the forgiveness of sins, the communion of the saints, the forgiveness of sins, the resurrection of the body and the life everlasting. Like it never says, also, I believe in a pre-trib,
Right.
Returning of Christ that will kick off 7 years of tribulation and then moving into 1,000-year reign of Christ on the earth where the enemy is trapped in a great bottomless pit after which he will be released. And then there'll be what's called Armageddon. And like the early church did not, they may have had some of those beliefs, but when it came down to what are we going to put into our centralized thing that all this is what causes us to know that we're believing the same thing. They just said, we believe that he will come again to judge the living and the dead. So for me, eclipse, non-eclipse, Johnny, if he chose to that day, great.
Yeah.
But
Did you have any eclipse references in your sermon on Sunday?
I didn't.
You didn't do the whole thing about like sometimes it's the light's blocked for but a moment, but it's what, we still know that it's there,
right.
Even if we can't see the light.
And you shouldn't stare directly into the, well, I didn't do that.
Did you?
You know what I did do though?
I can't believe you didn't take an opportunity. It was to the next
I'm
day.
not that guy.
You went the other direction on purpose because you're like, I'm not going to be that guy.
No, I didn't.
There's some good illustrations
just
there.
Didn't go into my message that day.
You really blew it.
I did make a joke off the cuff. It wasn't really a joke. It was an observation. It was one of those like only a small population would really understand. And I will say this, Johnny, it didn't hit like I wanted it to.
Oh, no.
So I think in a moment when we come back, after we hear from word from our sponsors.
We'll call that a tease in the radio biz.
I'll tell you what I said. So, but right now, let's take a listen to a few of our friends. I don't know if those people are our friends or not. We may not know them at all.
That's true. We don't know.
We did get a email the other day that said I had just gone off on Grammarly for something.
Yeah, but I don't know if you just besmirched their product.
No,
but
I
we were
didn't.
just talking about how, like,
I think we were just making, we were poking fun. That's all Grammarly. We're just having fun.
And then evidently.
The ad for them was Grammarly ad.
Yeah.
It was like, oh no. Because it's dynamic. We don't know. Your ads are all different, guys, if you don't know that. You don't all get the same ad every time. Yeah. So anyway, if you
get a Grammarly ad, you should probably look at your grammar.
Yeah, right.
The algorithm is telling you, hey, watch it.
Do you think the algorithm really did listen to us, though, to pick
I don't know. That is a good question.
Or is that just a rando
I don't know, but should we talk more about like the fine quality cars at Porsche? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do we get the sponsors? It's like you got to put yourself out there. It's like a vision board.
Yeah, I like that. Porsche. What if it thinks we said borscht again, though? Yeah. And it's just like, now your ad's like...
Just for beats.
I'm trying to think. Someone's playing a... Never mind. My head went to a whole different place.
We're just going to get beets. It's what's for dinner? No, that's not. It's beef.
So in the church world...
Yes.
And... You lived in this world on staff, so you know. Yeah. There's an expression. We probably talked about it before around Easter. Right. And that is that, hey guys, we all got to get ready for Easter. Best videos, best band, got to get ready for the visitors, got to get your parking, got vests on, got to get everything ready because, guys, this is our Super Bowl.
Yeah, I saw you talk about this on the live feed, and you're right. It did go a little flat. It did fall a little flat. But I just think they didn't quite understand it. But.
No, because I was like, it's just not my notes. And I was like, I shouldn't be doing this. But it just hit me that morning. So we make fun of that here.
When you tell them you're going off your notes, so you're already setting them up to think.
I sound like Mr. Preacher?
Yeah.
Who did that?
Brother I have gotten off my notes.
Yeah. Mr. Preacher, sorry. That's me.
Yeah, you're Mr. Preacher.
Dr. Preacher. But... So I just had this idea, Because we think that's ridiculous that you would somehow boil down the most important event in all of history, eternity, and divinity and humanity.
To American football game.
Compare it to an annual American football game. But anyway, so I made the joke that if Easter was like our Super Bowl, because that was the deal. We had a lot less people. And you always do the week after Easter.
Right.
Like, and if you really are like a numbers-based place, which I've been before, the week after Easter
very disheartening.
Is awful. You're like, oh my gosh, because last week, by the way, we had the most people.
Did we not do enough to keep them?
Right.
What about retention?
We had the most people on Easter that we probably had here in 6 or 7 years. Like, it was a great day. You know what I'm saying? But it was a great day for other reasons. I mean, they mostly weren't visitors. They're just our people who 30 to 35% are gone every week for either sickness, travel, comedy, some of them. But, they were all there. So it was great. And so I was like, hey, if that's our Super Bowl, then the week after Easter is like the Pro Bowl, which is where all the real players who are good show up. So I was paying a compliment to those who were there. Right. I was like, and nobody watches.
Nobody watches.
Yeah. And
terrible ratings.
It was like cricket. I was like, okay, we're going to move on back to the message.
It's like cricket. It's a game that's very respected, but nobody in America cares.
We don't know why you're running back and forth to one base.
Why? That paddle looks like something we got spanked with. It's not.
I wonder if in England,
that cricket bat is something.
In England, like, how here we have sort of these crude expressions in dating, like, hey, did you get to second base or whatever, Right. I wonder if there's only one base. It's like, hey, did you get to first base? It's like, that's it. It can mean anything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We don't endorse the speaking of those terms. No,
come
I'm
on.
Saying it happens. I heard it on secular shows.
Secular shows.
I mean, I would never.
Podcast that we can't possibly recommend.
No.
Yeah. I don't understand cricket. People are like, it's a global game, so people are like heroes if you're good at cricket, like, you write your own ticket being good at cricket. But for real, though, it's a big game. India, it's big in England, obviously. I don't know.
We have a lot of international listeners, so, I mean, we're not besmirching
That's
cricket.
true. No, we would never.
No.
We got an email from somebody international this week.
You know what we did?
Let's read that, John.
Let me pull that up.
Pull that thing up. It was from Australia, maybe? German? Scotland.
Wait, I think we had an Australia and a Scotland. Yeah, we just new listener, Derek Roberts, listener here in Scotland.
I'm not sure. I think Derek Roberts may be an expat. That sounds like a very American name.
A history teacher and a preacher. I like this guy.
Is it O. Roberts?
Derek.
Is it
Derek
just
Roberts?
Derek Roberts?
Yeah. Listener here in Scotland, history teacher and preacher, loving the podcast. Thanks so much for the
why can't he? I just figured he would be like a McGillicuddy or something.
Yeah, I don't
like Derek Roberts as a Scottish name. It's not.
Derek, he doesn't want your name to be what it is.
Ethnic enough for me.
Yeah. Johnny needs you to change your name.
I need you to be in a kilt as you typed that.
That's the thing. Johnny does a great Scottish accent.
No, I don't.
He's not going to do it, though. But I thought if we talk about this email, are we going to...
You're going to read it in a...
No, because this is a person who really lives in Scotland. Like,
right.
That
way
would
we
be...
think.
Although, I would love to... I love it, by the way. I was watching this is hilarious. I was watching some British YouTube video about how to pronounce certain British cities. Mm-hmm. And to hear her... what was the... Oh, it's like Birmingham. Right?
Yeah, Birmingham.
But she goes, now, a lot of our American listeners, and the way she had to basically like alter herself, she had to make a face to do it, to sound American.
Yeah.
You hear Americans go, Birmingham, and she does, and I was like, that is so funny to hear a British person try to speak like us, much less someone who's Southern.
Yeah.
So I enjoy it. Maybe Derek would love to hear your Scottish accent.
I don't
Johnny?
think so. No, I'm not doing it.
Not going to do it.
Thanks for listening.
We did have some other emails, great emails this week. Rebecca Jones writes, y'all are my favorite podcasters. Again, people who get it, Johnny.
Yeah, they understand.
And our kids think we're hilarious too. And then she gave us some great advice about getting rid of paint, by the way. You dump it on because you were talking about we can't get rid of the paint.
Right, how do you get rid of a can of paint, old can of paint?
Pour it on a piece of cardboard, let it dry, then put the cardboard out for the trash, and they will take it.
That sounds like a project.
You take a lot of cardboard if you have although you're probably just getting rid of the excess. I suppose you can also mix it with cat litter. What? And that seems like it just turns into colorful concrete.
There are cats out there just huffing paint, seeing colors, and cats just think, I just came here to go to the bathroom. Whew, man, I'm in a Doors video now.
There's like a really loud organ going in the background.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
One pill makes you larger. Cat's loving it.
I love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but okay, so that's great. So yeah, we're getting, listen, if you want to send an email to the show, how would they do that, John?
They would just email us at hello@talkaboutthatpodcast.com.
We love our emailers.
We really do. Yeah.
Send us. We want people to send us more things that you want us to talk about too. We like that. We like getting some. It's not just that we want your praise, although that's,
I mean, it would help.
Always invited.
We're not getting a lot of that.
We don't get enough
elsewhere.
of it in our everyday lives.
Yeah. This is where we come.
What we get is a lot of lists. We need more praise.
Yeah. We don't. I don't know who you're getting lists from. I make my own lists.
Yeah, but
of
I'm
things
saying,
I know I'm not doing enough of. You know.
Yeah.
So, by the way, we have a listener, and I'm not sure their name because they didn't actually put their name in here, and their email address is not a name. I think it might be, but I don't want to say what it is in case it's like their private address. Or
sure.
So, in any route, they listen on their commute, and they feel like they're old friends at a table. They are, by the way, they've archived 115 episodes now, or sorry, 115 left. They're over halfway through.
Okay.
So, and then they're going to see you. They got to see you perform in Meridian, Mississippi.
Oh yeah, I remember that show.
Yeah,
a lot of fun.
Did a great job.
That 150. They're almost into the. They're into the They've done the pandemic episodes. Then those are got to be those. I bet those are a tough listen.
I don't know.
You don't think?
I mean, they still liking them.
I think the pandemic episodes, that whole year probably is the ones, if we went back, we would probably be like, a couple of those, we'd be like, man.
You know what? Every time I go back
lesson.
and if I think, I wasn't sure about that one, only a few times I ever thought, yeah, that was okay. We enjoyed our time. By the way, she did say she felt bad because the church had a pungent, musty, dusty, crusty smell.
Wow.
Do you remember that?
No. This sounds like a Dr. Seuss.
It really does.
A pungent, musty, dusty, crusty smell.
And she wanted to know if that affected you at all. So the answer is no. But Johnny's been huffing paint right before the show.
I will say it was
cat litter.
It was a big, gigantic church, but it was an older church, and I think that they were trying to like get some resurgence back in the church. It's like one of those big old, but they only run a couple hundred people now, but it's a gigantic room. And they were like, we'll do a comedy show. And, you know, it was what it was. It was fun. We had a good time. But it was a big, ornate church.
I like those.
Big old.
I don't know if they're great for comedy, but I like them.
Big old Baptist church.
By the way, she had a couple questions. She said we could just pick one.
Oh.
And I thought this was a great question. She said, in several episodes, you have referred to the conversation you had earlier at lunch together, which that's almost every episode.
Yeah.
We generally eat breakfast or lunch before, depending on when we're recording.
We shouldn't refer to it, though. That's weird to be like, we were talking about this.
Why?
I don't know. It's just
We
odd.
got a great question because of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Why do you always do this?
I'm sorry.
Just let it be what it. How do you keep the dialogue sounding fresh when you just spent an hour conversing at lunch? I think what she means is like when you've heard Johnny drone on for that long, how do you keep acting interested? That's a great question. She said, I do realize you probably talk on a more personal level at lunch, but do you ever talk about something and then say, hey, we need to talk about that in the podcast today? Every week, yeah.
All the time. Yeah. Or you'll be like, I got a story, and you'll start telling it, and I'll be like, you need to say
Right,
this.
save it. So we can
Because
have an honest, genuine reaction.
Yeah.
in
So I
real
have to
time.
act like I'm seeing the car wreck for the first time.
Right.
What?
Oh my gosh. We do talk a lot of personal stuff that doesn't make it to the podcast.
Correct.
So mainly about
You don't know who we really are.
no.
You think you do.
Yeah.
That's the thing, too. We've been doing this long enough that we could never say that. Like, you can't stifle your real self after 300 episodes.
Yeah.
It's going to come out. Like, I don't know if you could take things out of context for sure and cancel each of us probably if you wanted to, like pull individual sentences. But other than that, for the most part, like, this is who we are. It'd be pretty fair if somebody said, like, is this a representation of your personality? Be like, yeah, take it or leave it. Yeah.
Again, I think there's muted things or whatever that we won't just say everything we could say, but and we do try to stay on track a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like
on track.
There have been episodes for real where we felt like we needed to say something about a major world event or a political event, even where we're like, hey, we know we're going to get flack for this, but we think there's more damage in not speaking up, especially as people of faith right now than there is. So yeah, if you follow that journey. See, I'm not ashamed of those days. I think...
I don't mean that in particular. I meant more of like the whole COVID culture war that happened where we were all like being pitted against each other.
Yeah.
And then we were like, you felt like you needed to render an opinion on vaccine mandates.
Right.
Everybody had to have a take on it. And then now you look back at it and you go, I don't even know. Were we right? Were we not right? I don't know. I'm okay saying it doesn't matter now. But people still, it feels like now want to have won the pandemic.
Yeah.
They want to have been right the whole time. When the truth is we were all wrong about 100 times each. You know?
Yeah.
And so, but nobody wants to really admit that about themselves. They just go, no, I knew the whole, whatever.
I think I remember saying at the time.
That you were 100% right?
Well, no, that we're not going to know all this.
Yeah.
Like, this is our real problem. Is the doctors don't all know, the scientists don't all know, because that's how these things work throughout.
Right.
And I find the comfort in history.
40 years from now, we're going to be like, we'll be able to declare winners.
Like if they'd have known at the beginning of the Spanish flu, then they would have stopped the Spanish flu, but they didn't know. They had to go through it to figure out what it is.
Yeah, if they had known in the beginning of the Dust Bowl,
right?
Hey, if we keep churning up this earth, this many people are going to die, and we're ruining the land for the next 2 generations. But they didn't know. They were just like, all we know is I got to feed my family. We got to plant this wheat.
Yep. And that lack of knowledge was the real offense.
Yeah.
Is we're mad at anybody, medical, government, anyone in our life that doesn't have the answer we need immediately because we have so much faith in technology. And
I will say, too, I've been watching this documentary about, it's called The Antisocial Network, and it's about the beginnings of what was the anonymous movement out of 4chan, which was just a website that was forum-based. Mm-hmm. And then from that came Anonymous, which was a more political, active, it was like a meme culture, but they became like really aggressive at like, they'll go after companies and shut them down, and hacktivism kind of started, these computer activists. And then from that, this whole, you would see like an incel section of their community that was more aggressive and anti-women. And then super, super conservative people, which kind of swept Donald Trump into the presidency, they believe. They were kind of making a case for all of this stuff that happened. But it was interesting to think about like how it felt so innocuous, because QAnon came out of that, basically. Like QAnon evolved from this world of like the people feeling like they needed a community. But this guy was talking about it, and he goes, we didn't really have community. We had an illusion of community. We were all just alone together. Mm. And it wasn't real community. He's on the other side of it. And he's kind of had an off-ramp to the extremism. But I was fascinated by the idea that the seeds of distrust that it sowed against the government, and now, we start accusing the government of having, pizza parlors where kids are, all the stuff, all the QAnon stuff of like, pedophilia rings and all the things that are crazy. Democrats are drinking kids' blood, all the crazy stuff. So all that stuff came almost as like a joke from like internet trolls. Yep. And then it caught hold. People started believing it. And now you just have like, it's just, some people just accept it. But it's odd that the distrust of government and mistrust of like pharmaceutical companies, all those things, like some of that's healthy. Like a healthy distrust of a government official that could also be taking money from a lobbyist. I think that's okay. That's built into the system that we should be like, let's watch that guy. Let's have checks and balances. But I think what we need now is we need to also have a healthy mistrust of people who are also monetizing our rage against those things. So like they've seeded mistrust and distrust of things, and we go, because look, if I take this vax, Pfizer makes $1 billion. Right. But we don't have a healthy skepticism of that person. Right. Who's also
the whistleblower.
Who's monetizing the YouTube video that he made to just like clip things together and make basically propaganda that's like half truths. He's making money off that. Where's the mistrust of that guy? Like, I think that's the next phase in it. Like, have a healthy skepticism of both sides.
And when you figure out that the guy who just told you that has a podcast with ads, where's the mistrust of us, of the mistrusting them, mistrusting?
I think our audience already mistrusts us.
Okay, good. Mission accomplished.
And they should. Please vet us.
And back to the eschatology part of that, because if you mix in the spiritual into that particular bowl of those ingredients. Yeah. It brought Christians to a whole other level because there's so much, imagery and things in scripture that you could apply to this and fear drives clicks, and so people would come to me during that time, especially like, I saw this video, this guy I watch, and you go and look, he's got this, millions of followers or whatever. And it's always I saw this, it's going to happen in September. It's going to be this, and I would look at them and go, well, a couple things. One, when you watch this video, did it have an ad? Mm-hmm. If they go, yeah, I go, okay. Well, hey, I'm not against that. I have ads in my videos. Just know something, though. If this is a person saying they're a prophet and telling you what God said, that they're also someone, it may not even be them, someone is making money off of that video if there's an ad. I said, the number two, the good news is if they gave you a date, if we get to September and that doesn't happen, stop listening to them altogether.
Yeah.
It's like you don't have to hate them or call them a false prophet. They may just be mistaken. But at that point, it would be foolish if what they say doesn't come true. Because that's sort of the key for me of prophecy. So,
well, it's weird, like that we want to believe. It's like again, that's that secret knowledge. We want to have secret knowledge of things so bad because it makes the world, which is very complicated and Byzantine. We need it to make sense somehow. We need things to all be related. We don't need, like, if an eclipse comes and goes. And we go, well, it just happens every now and again. And we know that we're in this system and that just happens sometimes. And it's going to cross over here. And it makes an X. So in other words, there was a pathway of Indianapolis where both eclipses X'd right over Indianapolis. So some people took that to mean something. So we can't let that be random. It need to make us feel better. We need for it to mean something. And so we try to find a simple solution instead of just admitting that we live in a complicated world. And sometimes there's coincidences and sometimes there's...
Well, what you're not doing then is marveling at the beauty of creation or the wonder of it. There is a wonder. There is a divine wonder to those things.
Yeah.
But in trying to use it as your key to figuring out your code to your religious belief systems, instead of like, how many people who are waiting for that are enjoying the wonder of the eclipse, which is a part of God's unbelievable creation? I don't know. I think that's part of the deal. To be in that mindset, to be in scarcity or to be in fear. We can scripturally easily know these are not the paths to be. They're how Jesus said, hey, you're not supposed to know all this, but there is a joyful life of purpose ahead of you that you are supposed to be part of. Even Paul said, don't take part in endless controversies or in endless conversations that have no gain or have no purpose. And Old Testament says, turn away from worthless things. Like, it's not that they're not interesting, but let them be a hobby and not, the source of all you do. By the way, that the Tennessee State Legislature has passed a bill prohibiting chemtrails.
Oh, boy.
So chemtrails, if you guys don't know, is a conspiracy theory as well of those little trails.
Of water vapor from a plane.
That come behind a plane are actually the government intentionally trying to poison us or to create mind control substances. That's the deep end of it. The actual bill they passed, it passed both houses in Tennessee.
Yeah.
The actual bill they passed talked about government agencies trying to alter weather patterns or climate, which there has been cloud seeding and things in Arizona and those kinds of things. But that's not every commercial flight going over. There's not.
Yeah.
The idea is, no, they're intentionally putting it into jet fuel. It's a secret, it's a conspiracy. We figured it out. And that way of thinking in Tennessee now, which is not even happening in other southern states, has made it so far to the top that people who believe in chemtrail conspiracies now have a bill.
So how do you ban jet fuel leaving?
That's the thing. What are you really going to do to enforce that? I don't know what you're going to do, but now you have, all it did was probably help you get elected again. Yeah. Because now people go, see, I was heard.
It energizes their base.
And what was interesting is, by the way, one of the opposing party people who were opposed to it tried to add an amendment that prohibited Bigfoot. And it had this whole very
and it wasn't just like a joke to make
it was a joke.
I see.
A big elaborate thing about anything called Yeti, Sasquatch, Bigfoot. But basically the whole point was, this is so ridiculous.
This is as ridiculous
we might
as
as well just start adding anything in. So, we're
gonna get emails, by the way, by talking.
Guys, I don't believe in chemtrails. I don't. And you know what? I have a former Air Force, basically guy who works here at church who knows all about this stuff. And I have another great friend who knows everything about airplanes. Like, I'm not saying that we're not above things, but the government doesn't seem to have it together enough to pull off conspiracies of that. And for what purpose? And by the way, if it was to create mind control, why isn't it working?
Yeah.
Why are we all upset at everything that's happening? Why are we not just like, yes, overlords, we will do, like, at some point in time.
Maybe that's what this is. That's what we've been whipped into. We're just docile now, John.
We don't sound docile. Well, I mean, you sound docile.
Yeah.
Hey, Johnny, I think it's that time.
Oh.
I think it's time for us to take a look at the wisdom from some other people in a little segment we like to call They Talked About That. By the way, Tom wrote back and said that if we do get sued by Hunger Games for using that music, then he will become a patron.
Oh, to help us offset our legal costs?
Appreciate that.
Wow.
We don't really have a level for that.
No.
But we'll create one if it happens. So thank you, Tom, for writing in.
Beautiful.
Today, actually, it comes from Abraham Lincoln. It's kind of a tongue-in-cheek. Abraham Lincoln was, if you haven't read, by the way.
He's a clever person. He's
very clever.
Not a humorless man.
No. I mean, he was folksy and engaging and very much like...
You don't wear that hat unless you're folksy.
He could entertain a crowd in much the same way I would imagine Mark Twain could, like just sitting around. And if you read, there's a great book by John Meacham called And Then There Was Light. It's not about his whole life per se, but it's most of it. It is an amazing biography of Lincoln that I recently read. And you should go read it, John
I bet
Meacham.
it got hot under that hat.
We kept stuff in the hat, by the way.
Did he really?
Yeah, he did.
What kind of stuff?
I like speeches,
notes
or
and things.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. How much room you got up there?
A gerbil. Just
running on a little wheel, creating like a fan that cools them off. Anyway, Abraham Lincoln said, "Tact is the ability to describe others as they see themselves." Tact is the ability to describe others as they see themselves.
That's good.
And at first glance, that sounds like manipulation a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you want to be tactful, then you make sure that person, you're describing them as you think that they see themselves. But I actually see it deeper than that. I think that what I would take away is tact is the ability to acknowledge someone else's intentions is kind of what that's saying.
That's good.
Like I see what's happening with you. I don't think about how many times we come to communication in bad faith. So like we're not going to get anywhere in a conversation if I'm already acting like you're intentionally lying, or you're trying to hurt the country, or trying to hurt the church, or you're trying to hurt me, and everything you say is just garbage. Like I'm not giving you any credit, even if I disagree with your position. Like if I want to have the conversation, then I at least have to acknowledge that you see yourself differently than the worst version of you I could come up with. Yeah,
that's a good point. That's good. That's a good quote. It reminds me, I was backstage at an event one time, and I was thinking about this speech that Anita Renfro, who's a Christian comedian, she gave at a gathering of other comics. She said that when she's backstage at an event, she prays for what she prays is a very specific thing. She prays for the spirit of Pentecost, which we were raised Pentecostal. I immediately had where's she going with this? I was a little bit nervous. She said the miracle on the day of Pentecost was not that everyone spoke different languages. It's that everyone in the courtyard heard in their own language. And so this idea of comedy is this thing where you're looking for common ground.
Right.
And I think it's similar to that quote. It's like that. You want to see yourself in somebody's material.
Yeah.
So it's why material where you constantly lord over other people, or like, I turned the tables on this guy. What do you know? I'm the hero of this other story. You can only get so far with material like that. What you need is material where you're the dumb guy, where you got another ticket, where you tripped over the ottoman. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, Dick Van Dyke tripped over the ottoman every week in the opening credits of his show. Like it's so humanizing. We've all done that.
Right.
So there's something to that of like finding that common ground, and that's when you really start to reach people. Like you said, see them in their best light. Just like the eclipse, John. Want that? See how he came full circle?
I was writing in a book it's a collaboration, so I won't talk about it a lot, but it's about communication and marriage in particular. Mm-hmm. And the author had this concept about that you should wrap like presents, basically like truth needs to be wrapped in something. Yeah. Before it's given, you know? And I really went down.
I thought you meant like rap, like that was good.
Johnny, can you start rapping in a Scottish accent?
We were breaking it down.
But I really went into that. And I was like, I started they'll give me ideas, or it's their concept, and it's my job is to, flesh it out and see how we can collaborate further. And some of the stuff that really came to me was, I believe more marriages have been hurt or wounded or even destroyed by truth than lies.
Mm-hmm.
It's that truth has been given in a way that it couldn't be received.
Yeah.
So whatever you're saying about them may very well be true. And it's not just that you were mean about it, but it's like there was no tact.
Right.
Or no acknowledgement, or it came too, like the timing was wrong. But my belief of that is we have this inherited divine sort of shadow from creation of believing that the telling of truth is always good.
Yeah.
Right? In fact, even if you don't believe in God, people will get so angry if you lie to them. Well, why is that? You know what I'm saying? Because somewhere instinctively you believe the telling of truth is always good. And I believe actually it's truth that's always good. But the telling of truth, even scripturally, should be wrapped in something. And that's why Paul said, hey, make sure you speak the truth in love. Like you got to wrap this in something else. And that's not manipulation. And that's what I went into. What does that mean? It doesn't mean just be nice or say it at the right time or wait until you can get what you want out of it, right? God then goes on extensively to describe what that love looks like, meaning your truth should be wrapped in patience. Love is patient. Your truth should be wrapped in kindness. Love is kind. Your truth be wrapped in, it doesn't seek its own way. So like when you're going to bring something hard to say in a conversation, if it's not wrapped in those things, then they're not going to see it as the gift that truth always is. And I think that goes back to, again, if you wrap it in, always believes the best, right? Always believes, always endures, always perseveres. I mean, the key to that is if I love someone, then I know that they're capable of the wrong things. But when in doubt, I'm going to do my best to believe the best part of this that's possible.
Yeah.
And when you wrap truth in that kind of wrapping, Johnny, it really is like a present. Come on now.
Bet preach. John, it's time. John, it's time to go back.
Let's do it.
All the way back.
Okay.
This week in history, we call it Talk About Then. John had no idea this was a story. This week, 1963, Lee Harvey Oswald fired a gun at the home of a retired U.S. Major General, Ted Walker. However, the bullet struck a window pane and shattered, and Walker was not seriously injured. Oswald may have targeted Walker because of his staunch anti-communist stance. It was discovered that Oswald was the shooter in this incident when Oswald's widow told authorities about it during the Warren Commission's investigation into Oswald after the Kennedy assassination, which occurred just months after. So they do the deep dive into Oswald's past and find out that he had other deeds that he was out on. Did you know this? That he attempted another?
I felt like I had heard this before.
Probably from Allie.
Probably from
Allie.
Allie screaming at the...
Yeah, she is.
Sorry, Allie. We should have known that.
Anyway, Oswald, a troubled person. As are you. John, this week, 1849, a revolutionary invention, a patent for the safety pin was issued to Walter Hunt. Various versions of the safety pin date back to the ancient Romans. However, Hunt's version included a spring to hold the pin in place. Hunt, this is the sad part, you know what's coming. Hunt sold the rights to his safety pin for $400.
Come on.
Equivalent to $12,000 today, which went on to earn millions for others.
Yeah, but what if he couldn't mass produce it and we just don't have safety pins and kids are just walking around in diapers with...
Just falling to the ground.
Pins sticking in them and stuff. So, maybe it was a good... But why didn't he put himself in like, hey, I'll do this and also...
Take a percentage of
give me a 5% of your net.
Maybe he just thought, I need this. Maybe he had other inventions.
That's true.
Maybe he also invented like the ball in the cup game. We don't know.
Hey, well, it's
not as great either.
No, that didn't make near as much money.
But yeah, here it is. His Hunt's other inventions include a sewing machine. It didn't say the sewing machine, it said a sewing machine. Repeating rifle and fountain pen. So he had a lot going on. So maybe he did okay. Maybe he's not bitter.
I wonder if we sold them all for...
That's true. What if he just still died poor? I need to know if this guy ended up okay. I really feel bad for him, Walter Hunt. Yeah. It's like when you hear stories about that, usually a lot of it's the music industry.
Right.
Like the guy that wrote My Girl, I think sold it for $400 or $500. Wow. And that's sad.
Yeah.
My Girl? Come on, man.
My Girl.
No, you can't do it. Somebody else made money from that, not the guy.
Oh, sorry.
John, finally, This week, 1976, the Great Tamale Incident. Are you aware of the Great Tamale Incident?
No.
Well, it's a pretty big deal.
Get ready to live.
It's kind of an original Dan Quayle moment for a politician I was not aware of, but it kind of leans into what was happening with Gerald Ford, both in the public eye, and then like it being extrapolated, and media was starting to become, we were entering slowly a 24-hour news cycle, sort of. So you were seeing like more, if the president falls down the stairs of Air Force One, like it's going to be repeated a bunch.
Right.
So that's what happened. The U.S. President Gerald Ford, while touring the Alamo during his re-election campaign, bites into a tamale without first removing its husk, which, listen, I've seen, like, real tamales have this huge, thick corn.
Yeah.
And I've seen that before and thought, what are we doing? What is that? And I can see grabbing it thinking, like, is this what I'm supposed to eat? He just put the whole thing in his mouth, evidently. The culinary faux pas didn't help his image as a bumbler.
Did you say culinary?
Culinary faux pas.
Isn't it culinary? Speaking of faux pas,
this culinary.
Don't you mean fuss?
I think culinary or culinary work. It did not help his image as a bumbler. Some believe the extensive media coverage in Texas actually cost him the vote in that state.
Unbelievable.
So you bite into a husk and...
You got to eat your tamales right in Texas. I mean, I've said it a million times.
It was at the Alamo.
Yeah.
So,
like, dude, remember
the time that guy ate a corn husk?
As the old expression goes.
Can you imagine him chewing that? And it's just not...
Like, this is delicious.
Yeah.
I love the hardworking people of Texas.
Yeah. He's coughing. He's just getting caught in his throat. It's not great.
That reminds me, we had this sweet girl. You were there. We went to Gulf Shores. It was our first youth group. And my parents went. They kind of helped with the process. And I think we took about 30 kids. And that was the trip where the girl was complaining on the way home while I was driving. And I'd never seen you lose it on a kid ever, except this one time.
I feel bad. I feel bad
it's
about
this. It's the best story ever. Johnny, you're always so calm with kids. We're exhausted. We're somewhere in the middle of Alabama, and they can, John, are we there? Are we? And she just kept going and going. And Johnny finally turned around from the passenger seat and goes, got real big. He's like, John has been driving for 9 hours, and all you have to do is sit there and ride. And I was like, dude, this was great. It was kind of like that.
I got to be the bad guy. You didn't have to say anything. I was your Charles Barkley. I said the thing that you wanted to say.
I was like, bro, yes. Anyway, one of those kids on that trip.
Hey, Johnny, dial it down.
Johnny, she's just a kid.
She's just a kid. And you're like, high five. Gave me that look that said, yeah.
Well, we had a kid who had they'd just never been to the beach, had never had shrimp. And my parents got peel and eat shrimp. No. My mom was sitting with her, and she was just eating with the shell on. And she was like, these are good. My mom was so gentle, She was like, well, sweetie, they are good. You should even try them like this. And started teaching her how to peel. And then she's like, oh my gosh, they're even better. But if you don't know, there shouldn't be any shame to that. She just never had peel and eat shrimp, so.
These tickle my throat.
Yeah.
Whew.
That's one of our favorite stories, by the way, ever too, is our friend who had that friend.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, I love apples. You're eating apples and you get that
tingling in your throat.
And your tongue starts swelling. And our friend goes,
a little numbness?
No. Yeah, like it's hard to swallow a little bit, I mean, it's really invigorating. Like the guy was acting like it was such a great.
Spicy.
And our friend goes, dude, you're allergic to apples.
Yeah.
And he was.
Yeah. That's
so if you don't know, you don't know. You think everybody
you really don't
eats husks and shrimp shells and apples, as it were. There's the title of the episode, by the way.
Husks. Have you ever eaten a husk? Husky children?
I have eaten it.
I was a husky boy, by the way.
I wore husky jeans.
I remember the first jeans I was aware of the size of when I was at whatever age were husky. I remember seeing it on the tag and feeling like, this isn't.
Hey, I don't even know what that word means, but I don't. Yeah,
I know it ain't good.
I remember the same thing. Like,
I just remember my front pockets flaring out a lot. Let me just say that. I had a big old booty. I remember, you know what I'm saying? They flare. There's a flare that happens
husky. They don't have those anymore, do they?
Husky is a size?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know. It's a boy's
What
thing.
are they? Yeah, I wonder if it's like, because now we don't, it would be fat shaming or something. We don't even say. What would you, plus?
I don't know.
Bonus.
Beefy? I don't know.
Beefy. I don't know. I would, yeah. Husky man, come on. I've still got, listen, I got a big butt.
Johnny, I don't want to.
I cannot lie. It's okay.
Guys,
my pocket still flare.
If you like where this is going,
yeah, I don't miss.
You should check out
all our old episodes.
You
can go to
should.
talkaboutthatpodcast.com. Over 300 episodes archived for you. We know a lot of you are heading out on a road trip soon. Hey, give yourself a little binge watch. Listen.
Yeah.
Subscribe to us. Leave a review. That helps other people find the show. Leave a written review and a 5-star. If you feel we earned those 5 stars.
Yeah.
Only if.
Even if you didn't. I mean,
just do it to be nice.
What's that going to take? Look, the waitress at Cracker Barrel sometimes has 5 stars on her apron, and you don't ask her, did she earn them?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You just take her biscuits and you just pay for your check.
She's like, no, I just learned how to sew. Turns out you can buy stars.
I always want to know what those
Stolen
mean.
valor at Cracker Barrel. Wouldn't that be sad?
They can't mean years because they never go past 5.
No.
So I want to know what they mean. If you're just a 2-star general at Cracker Barrel, what does that mean?
It would be interesting to be exposed at Cracker Barrel as somebody who just like, you weren't a 5-star, but you.
Right.
The scandal of it all.
Oh my gosh. That'd be all
You call
over.
this apple butter? You're a disgrace, Erlene. And then they kick her out.
I've seen it just the once.
Yeah.
You should also check out Jonnie W, JONNIEW.com.
Tour dates dropping every day. By the way, I've got some dates coming up in Florida, and we'd love to have you. I know people always ask me to come to South Florida, and I am coming there twice this month.
Wow.
April 18th, I will be in Fort Lauderdale. April 20th, I will be in Bonita Springs, Florida. Both those are like little theater venues and should be fun. And get your tickets now while they last.
Listen, you could probably get a flight to Fort Lauderdale in Southwest for like $100.
And while you're down there, you hang out. It's warmer down there.
Catch a cruise.
Yeah.
You're going to want to pre-book those. They don't just let you on.
Last minute.
Yeah.
Anyway, come see me on the road.
Check it out. Hey, also go to our website and subscribe to the YouTube channel. That would actually be really helpful for us. So you leave a review, you click the button.
We're giving you a lot of busy work to do.
Yeah, just go over there and find us stuff. Actually, there's a new website coming out soon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, our website's about to have a major...
It's getting a facelift.
A major upgrade. Yeah, a whole new launch. It's going to be unbelievable.
Yeah.
Launching us into the next 300 episodes, Johnny.
I don't know if I have 300 more left.
You got 300 more.
I'll sunset this mug.
Guys, thank you for the time you gave us this week. Let's do it again next week on...